My name's Gavin Poole. I'm the Learning Experience Director at DappHouse. I work with a lot of the subject matter experts in developing learning content for some of the courses that we turn into games, gamified experiences. I have a teaching background. I've been with DappHouse for about 4 years now. I used to live overseas and worked in a various capacities with some distance education companies and English language teaching companies. Really looked forward to returning to Canada and where I was born and raised. Really enjoy my time here with DappHouse and the different experiences that I get to have and the different projects that we work on. What's one of my top interests? I'm a huge fan of basketball as well as football that we were talking about before. Joey, do you have a question for me?
I guess you didn't expect that this early, did you? Okay, I'm going to take a run at introducing you. The gentleman to my left, I don't know if he's on your left or not, is Mr. Gavin Poole. He is the Director of Learning Experience, and what he does is he takes very interesting, perhaps sometimes mundane learning experiences and turns them into really fun video games. He literally created the industry. He's a pioneer in the industry, and he likes basketball. He spent a bunch of time in Taiwan, and he knows of a company called Pearson, which I had never heard about before. There is a reason why he's starting as the he's over there on my screen. Why he is starting as the introductions, because he has the best radio voice out of all of us, although all of us do have pretty prolific radio and media voices. Hence, that's why you get us three first. Natalie's got a very prolific voice as well, but she'll chirp in when she needs to. That's my intro. What do you think about that intro?
I appreciate that. And I would say, yeah, we're tied three ways for radio voices, in my opinion. Joey, can you tell us about Corey?
Oh, geez, I didn't expect that coming. I didn't see a hand fly up either. Yes. Corey.
I'm the co-founder. Most of my time is focused on Web3 and Industry 4.0 technology. So, helping our teams develop games for work and games for play, and helping our clients bring those to market.
Oh, that's amazing, Corey. Thank you. That's better than I could have done. And my name is Joey Cadaret, and I am the CEO of a company called DappHouse that you're going to find out a bit about. I think Corey up there did mention that he is a founder, but in fact, everybody on this call is a founder of the company. We'll get into that in a bit. We'll tell you a bit about ourselves, but more importantly, we want to get into sort of kind of what we do and how we do it. And there is a reason why we want to do this. That reason is we often talk amongst ourselves. Very often, we're often amazed at the confusion about our industry. They're saying, you have some term, and we'll find out about one of these today, that gets thrown around, and the meanings change, and the perception of the way people think about it changes, and so on and so forth. So, it's our intent and purpose to, talk about technologies, talk about things we do, game development being probably the most prolific that we love doing. In fact, we're all here because we really love doing it. And that's that kind of leads me into what's right there in front of me on the screen, almost like a teleprompter. Who is DappHouse? No one really knows who he is or her. DappHouse actually is not a person. It actually is an organization. It is a company. It is an organization. It's a company. It's based in Toronto. It is a spin-out of a company called KTI Technology, which has been doing sort of what we do, bits and pieces, for the past 16 years. But specifically, DappHouse was a company that was spun out to pursue essentially you're going to hear this a lot, one pursuit, and that is really developing video games, but not just developing video games like Candy Crush or Pac-Man. Our intention of developing video games is actually to use them for many types of purpose, entertainment being one, but industry, health and safety. Anybody else help me out here? What else are we doing with these games?
Employee onboarding.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah,
I think the key idea is we're using our games to teach. teach all different things. A lot of times we're teaching within private industry and we're teaching processes and best practices that are used for certain companies, but we also do it for certain whole industries and for things like regulation and different Canada-wide projects that we've worked on that are educating. Just for one thing that we've been working on recently was workplace safety and doing some courses in that. And to your point about trying to make them as fun and immersive as possible, I would even say on top of that, we're trying to make them as effective as possible. We've learned from a lot of studies, and we have a lot of information that backs this up, that our way of teaching is one of the best ways that someone can learn, and that's it's immersive, it's mobile, it's something they can pick up and put down at any time, and it's also something that they can do at any time. They don't require having that instructor in their room. So while these are games, and we continue to call them games because we're a game development company, because I'm the egghead in the group that's always worried about the educational content, I always consider them interactive courses. So you might hear those two terms get bandied around as equivalent terms.
Yeah, I was going to say he does not mean that literally. That's figuratively. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call out. I forget what this name is called. What this role is called in. What do they call people in Hollywood who fact check movies and so on and so forth? What do they call those people?
Line producer?
No, their whole role is to, and anyways, I am going to cut to our off-screen producer, director, and researcher. That's what they call them, researchers. If in fact she knows what percentage of people actually really think that this type of video gaming, for example, is a very or the most effective mode of transportation. Do we know that unknown voice?
One moment.
Actually, you sent me the numbers yesterday.
89%.
Oh, I thought it was 93. I thought it was
more effective.
Okay. So voice off screen says 83% more effective. And sorry, what's 93%?
89% more productive and 93% more effective.
Fantastic.
Joey, I think what's key there too is understanding that that's from people who have taken those programs. That's from people who have worked with these tools before and find them effective. Well, one of the challenges we have, and one of the reasons we're doing these DappChats, is to really expose some of this information, because it's really the perception that we're going after. That a lot of clients, when they come to us, they have no idea just how effective this tool is, and then we get into some really exciting conversations after things have been launched and really see the results. And often we're actually going higher than what our original goal was for launch and for releasing these and what the outcomes that we're looking for are.
Fair enough. So I'm going to ask you guys, because there's something I struggle with quite often. Actually, I don't struggle with it. I used to struggle with it, but I quite often get asked, or it gets put in front of me, like, what industry are you guys actually in? So it's funny when we, talk to banks, they always want to say, what industry are you in? And when I cross the border, they said, what industry are you in? Go through U.S. Customs, where they ask. I always just leave it at software development. That's what I leave it at. But that's easy to get through U.S. Customs, but in fact, it doesn't help it doesn't help our learned listeners and viewers kind of figure out what we, kind of what we do. So I noticed on my thing, Corey, it's this is falling on you.
Well, I think
what is our industry? Like, what exactly is our industry? I mean, obviously all three of us have our own ideas. Hopefully they're aligned somewhere, or else we work for three different companies. but
well, I think you made a reference to it earlier. Gaming as a service, I think, is probably the best way to describe what we do. Yeah, it is software development, but I think we're very unique in that, and that's why we have a hard time sometimes socializing that to other people. Gaming as a service, right? Gaming studios typically develop their own content, go to market to Steam with it, and our model is very different. We're doing services and creating games for our client base, right? Whether that's for work or for play. So gaming as a service can also be looked at as like some platform stuff. So it's like, again, we're pretty unique in this. Most people are developing their own content, and we're developing games for our client base.
Well, one thing we did not, I think, okay, I don't want to pat myself on the back and take credit for this, but I did. Yeah, we all know the acronyms. There's literally acronyms being developed, every second in this industry for this industry. But I used to refer to it. I might refer to it now as GAS, but I used to refer to it as G to B and B to G. So games to business and business to games. Games to business meaning sort of exactly what Corey just said. Taking games and taking real games, pure play games is what we call them. And helping them succeed in business, or alternatively taking business and helping them succeed with gaming technology. Gavin, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Just there's a lot of different ways we can do it. We can, we've made a real reputation for ourselves with our digital twinning and our simulations. That's more of a straightforward a machine and best practices and how to operate that machine. But we also have a real spectrum. So if you consider simulations being one side of it, and you consider learning games being the other side of it, a game that you play to learn something, we're really covering that whole spectrum where we have simulations. We have simulations where we gamify certain aspects of it to make it more interesting to go through that simulation of the process. And then we have things that we design of, here's a curriculum, let's turn it into a game to make it fun to practice and learn that curriculum, that learning content. So like Corey was saying, we do these things and we call them games, but they have a lot of applications, everything from education to marketing to, I'm sure, another 10 that Corey can mention off the top of his head. These are not just games that people are playing for fun. They are fun to play, but they serve a purpose.
Thank you. Again, I think we're kind of aligned as to sort of, for our studio audience, I think they pretty much understand kind of what we do. There will be a skill testing question after this. It's kind of funny in our order of operations. We talk about it, the delivery of games and so on, order of operations, how we develop games and so on. But I do notice on our agenda, we have an agenda item. What is DappChat? And to the learned listener, you are in a DappChat right now. But Gavin, I think you do have a prepared definition for what DappChat is. At least my monitor says so.
I certainly do. Thanks for joining us, everybody at home who's watching this DappChat. The purpose of this program, and it's something that we've really wanted to do for a while and have struggled to find time, as we're all rather busy people. But the goal of these is that they're going to be rather bite-sized, never more than 20 minutes, just letting you know, as a viewer, things that are happening in our industry. We want to keep you up to date on different technology that's coming out, different phraseology that we're using, different terminology that's being used in the industry, and really not just use this to talk about ourselves, but to talk about what we do in this industry, educate anyone who might be interested in working in this industry, but also really leaving it open to people to contact us if they have any questions and any follow-ups, any of the topics that we talk about. We're gonna be releasing these on a fairly regular schedule. They're going to be available through LinkedIn and some other social media platforms that we're going to be filling you in on as we go through. And yeah, you're sometimes going to be seeing the three of us. You'll sometimes see a couple of us or just one of us, and maybe have some different guests, people from our organization, people that we work with, different partners that we've worked with in the industry. We think it's going to be interesting, and we hope that you join us in the future.
Wow, that sounded prepared. So would you say DappChat is like a slice of life in the Dapp house?
I would say, yeah, it's a barbecue in the backyard at Dapp House.
Doing our best to make something entertaining.
Well, speaking of DappChats and what we're going to be doing for a regular feature that we're going to be bringing into each of these DappChats is word of the day or word of the week. This is going to be really for the benefit of people who are interested in the industry or people who are a little bit new to the industry. We're going to talk about what a term means to us, what a term, why it's being used right now, why you might be hearing it a lot right now, and then discussing, what this might mean to you and your business, what this means to us and our business. Corey, what's our word today?
Today, the definition of the day is metaverse, which is a pretty contentious one. It's had many meetings over its life and has evolved quite a bit since its original definition. So I thought we would start by talking about what is the original definition of the metaverse. So the original definition is a single, shared, immersive, persistent 3D virtual space where humans experience life in ways they could not in the physical world. So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of, I think, jargon within the jargon maybe in there.
Yeah,
but
Corey, what I'm really interested in, one word that might stick out there to people is that term persistent. We all understand realistic, we all understand interactive, but what do they mean by persistent?
So persistence is the idea. I loved an example actually you brought up to me in the past. I've heard you use in the past, Gavin, which is think of a window. When you go open it in a room, if somebody doesn't go close it, it doesn't get closed. And it's the same thing in the digital space, right? So if I go open a window and you come in as a user, that window will still be open.
Right. So it's going
Right.
to show
So
that
objects in the environment have a solid state and that data is always saved. So if you go in and move that block, when I go back in, it won't be where I left it. So
so it adds to really the realism of the space, but it also adds
Absolutely.
to the interactivity between two people who might be avatars in that space, that I can do something, you can see what I did, and you can actually manipulate the same tools that I did.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And you're talking about how it's been used. There's a lot of definitions, and I think we can all think of some really popular definition thieves for the metaverse. Can you give us a few examples of how this term has kind of spun out to mean different things now with different products?
Well, yeah, I think it's been annexed in a lot of different ways, and actually, I think the end state of what the metaverse will look like may be very different from that definition. Roblox, for instance, has defined themselves as the metaverse. So is Fortnite. So is NVIDIA Omniverse. So has Decentraland. So is Sandbox. So has many, many, many platforms, right? And so this is my personal definition. I don't believe the end state of this technology is going to be one platform, kind of like you'd see in the movie Ready Player One, the Oasis. I don't think the end state of the metaverse is going to be one of these platforms is going to be the clear winner, and we're all just going to use that one platform. I don't think that's going to be the end state of the metaverse. I think there's really exciting development going on in a bunch of different platforms that focus on different use cases for the technology. Like an example is NVIDIA Omniverse, right? They're very much focused on digital simming and digital twinning and stuff like that. So really hardcore industrial applications for this technology. Like I just don't think Fortnite, for instance, will be the right tool for that ever to do those types of things. Like it's just not the right tool for the job. So I think in light of that, people will pick the right platform for the right use case. And the thing that interconnects all of these experiences is the internet. And so that's why we talk about it as Web3, the next evolution of the internet. As gamification and gaming technology is easier to access through a browser, that means there'll be more of these types of experiences online, and you'll be able to surf from one 3D experience to the next like you do websites currently. It's the move from websites to web spaces. Joey.
I bet you didn't see that coming. Okay.
I did see it coming, actually.
Okay. Actually, not really a question, but really more of a comment on what you just said. We are, in fact, working on a metaverse implementation for health and safety with an organization called Safety Meta World. But this is what I wanted to bring the conversation is that when we execute these things or any type of experience, we're always looking at, well, the user, what are what are we trying to do with them? What are we, what kind of technology do they have available to them? And I think, one thing we talk about quite often is repurposing some tools if it's useful, for an application, if it's an application meaning experience, if it's useful. But I think when we looked around, what we saw within, I guess platforms like Meta or platforms like Roblox or maybe even Fortnite is to accomplish what we needed to accomplish in terms of, training training people in certain environments, that they didn't offer enough fidelity. So we had to, in fact, sort of create our own sort of metaverse that was a bit sort of higher fidelity so that we can actually teach people detailed tasks. But we do know, and I know, Corey, you have experience doing this, like, working with some of these platforms, that maybe the reason that we may work with them, or we may have an experience within them, is because of the reach of them. So, for example, if we build a custom metaverse, obviously the reach is only within the group that it deals with. If we're dealing with a Roblox or a Fortnite, obviously, we can reach out to many more people, but with probably a lower fidelity experience. But maybe I know you've worked on some projects like that, but maybe you could just give us your thoughts, give us your opinion.
Yeah, it's totally based on use case, right? It's the right technology and the right platforms for the right use case. And yeah, we've done everything from create in third-party platforms like Fortnite, Roblox, and Decentraland to building the platform for our clients, right? In many instances, right? So developing their own 3D, virtual campus, for instance, which we've done for some clients, and they can host all of their training and learning modules within it. We've done things like that. We've even done traditional games, really great award-winning traditional games that are released through Steam. So we've done everything from, some of that new UGC, as they're calling, user-generated content creator type stuff within Fortnite and Roblox. But we've also developed full, very robust self-hosted solutions for many of our clients. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Good, Gavin.
I'm just gonna.
How can we help you?
I'd love to serve up a real softball here, but
I'll get my hand up too.
I'm envisioning.
Mine was a mistake.
I'm envisioning the people who might be watching this at home, and I'm sure a lot of people are very aware of metaverse and have maybe even played something like a Roblox or something like a Fortnite, which are video game based and really based around either a group of games or a single game, and really pitched towards the younger generation. But for somebody who might not have that firsthand experience with it, or somebody who might still be viewing this as, far away technology, Corey, can you share some of like the platform usage numbers on some of these larger ones? And everybody knows that lots of people use Facebook, but what we're talking about is an actual platform where you make an avatar, you walk around, you interact with different people. And these things are currently being used by millions of people right now.
Hundreds of millions. Yeah. Let me look up DAU, daily active users. Maybe that's a definition for another podcast.
Oh, wow.
DAU for Fortnite. Okay, so in 2023, there is 650 million registered users. That's not the daily active user count, though. Let's see how many are in-game right at this very minute. Fortnite live players currently online is active players in the last 30 days, 247 million. Online right now in the last hour is 1 million people. So,
well, because everybody's at work right now, I'm sure that number will go up.
Yeah, that's live data. But they've had their daily active user count, I think, up to a couple hundred million, like really ridiculous numbers. So, platforms like Roblox and Fortnite are really great for specifically, if you were a brand trying to get your name out there, for instance, like that's a great way to get reach and bolster kind of your omni-channel marketing strategy. If you have a big tentpole moment, like, we did work for Absolute and Coachella. So their big tentpole moment at Coachella was a great example of that. If you really want to get eyeballs on your product, those are probably the two platforms that everybody's really focused on right now, Roblox and Fortnite. In the boom of 2021 with the cryptocurrency markets, we had other new novel type metaverse platforms show up, which are blockchain based. So we had the Decentralands, the Sandboxes, the OnCybers, the HyperFis, the Somnium Spaces. There's plenty of these things, and there's even more and more coming out every day. So, they were seeking to do things a little bit differently. And I think the paradigm shift with them relative to the walled garden ecosystems is that it was decentralization. They were hoping that the the users of these platforms are actually the owners, and they dictate the platform development through what's called a DAO structure, DAO. Oh, it sounds like another definition. So
I wondered about the if you could just quickly express what you mean by walled garden versus open.
So I think a lot of the debate in the industry right now is between more of these traditional gaming ecosystems that kind of force you to stay within their ecosystem, right? So I think probably one of the biggest examples of this in technology is probably Apple, right? You need to use Apple OS, you need to use Apple apps, you need to use Apple, you need to go through the App Store, they have their
Stay
own
in
OS.
that world. Yeah.
You're stuck in that world, right? Like it's for the most part. You're not going to get Apple product on non-Apple devices most of the time, right? So you're not going to get non-Apple software on non-Apple devices, right? So there's an example of it. And in some of these metaverses, the way that works is, for instance, I might make an avatar item for my character. I might build a t-shirt, but it's only going to work in Fortnite. It is not going to work in all of these other platforms. So I think some of these other platforms seek to solve the issue of interoperability, the ability for these platforms to work together, or for those assets to be able to be transportable between one world to the next. So
really bringing it back to your idea of the future where these metaverses start coming together, they start being stitched together, and they start being the internet itself becomes the metaverse instead of these individual kind of walled gardens.
Yeah, and I mean, I like that still may be a pipe dream, to be honest. That may not be the end state of it. Some things will work and some platforms, and it won't work in others. The problem is a technical one, actually. It's that the way your avatar is designed in one software isn't the same as it necessarily is in the next one. So you have a technical and creative challenge there, right? So I think a lot of us talk about what we call open source protocols, and we are part of the Metaverse Open Standards Forum, and we believe very much in that interoperability and trying to decide on protocols that we are all trying to leverage to kind of develop these spaces so that as much of what we're developing now will be interoperable in the future. So I think that's the hope, of at least some of us. So
I have a follow-up question, but it looks like Joey's got one first.
Yep. So just something you brought up, and as we're talking about the definition of metaverse, I think this needs some clarification. So I'll throw it out there, but the metaverse, for some reason, maybe you can explain the history as to why, Corey or Gavin, but for some reason, at least in a lot of, as I read through the press, as I often do, the metaverse has somehow become linked or intertwined with the crypto sort of movements and so on. But in fact, when you go back to the original definition, there was that, that wasn't even a consideration. But maybe you can explain maybe how they came together, and maybe maybe how they're moving apart, or maybe they're not moving apart. But I do know that quite often we talk about metaverse. There's metaverse. So we do, you guys do, crypto dev, which we do, but I mean, it's, our purposes and intents are really to get something done, as opposed to, something that we do as a trend, or as a, as a religious movement, or as a sort of something. But maybe you could explain how metaverse and the Web3 world. I mean, I think the Web3 does encompass both metaverse and crypto, but in fact, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why that they got sort of intertwined together, because they both got entwined with Web3. But Web3 is pretty broad, but in my humble opinion, metaverse probably should not be as broad. I mean, it can include a whole variety of technologies, which crypto might be one of them. But anyway, sorry, I'll give you the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the idea was, like you said, I think there's two different things here. Like Web3 as a cultural movement relative to a technology stack, I think is probably there's probably a distinction there, I would think. Web3 as a cultural movement is really about decentralization and people getting greater control over their finances, and the fabric of the internet, the plumbing of the internet being built upon blockchain, I guess, that's what that group really believes. But you know, I think that as the marketplace has matured a bit, I think we've seen that it's really metaverse is really its own definition. I think Web3 has become very synonymous with cryptocurrency for sure. Metaverse has definitely been like a bad younger sibling to crypto, I guess, and somehow got lumped in with that. I mean, we've been through a number of these terminology changes: XR, MR, VR, spatial computing, immersive web. I mean, like, you name it, everybody comes up with their own marketing jargon for this stuff. But I mean, I think the point, as we were talking about much earlier on in this conversation, was it's the move from websites to web spaces. You know, that is really what we're talking about. We used to have 2D static text, video. We're now moving to incorporate 3D technology into the fabric of the internet. And right now, the infrastructure of the internet doesn't really fully support that, as we had talked about. Like, we can't get that fidelity of experiences necessarily in browser all the time, and that's what's evolving. So the types of experiences we can have in browser on a web page are going to get better and better and better.
Fair enough. I see we have a question from one of our colleagues. I'm going to get to the question, but once the question is done, I'm going to come back to our not word of the day. What are we calling it?
Our definition of the day.
Definition of the day. And I'm going to ask you, what is our view, or what is our current? I'll give you each 30 seconds to run through what, you know, our interpretation or how we see. And, you know, I'll give my own 2 cents as well. But Gavin, you have a question, you have a comment?
I was just going to piggyback on Corey's statement there about how the industry itself is evolving. I think how the users and what they expect is evolving. Back to our point about how there's hundreds of millions of people in a certain age group that are very comfortable with this technology, that are on Roblox, that are on these different platforms daily and putting a lot of hours in. What that really lends itself nicely to is this as a teaching tool. As we know, there is a labor shortage in this country. There's a massive shift in demographics for working. These high school students, these university students, these elementary school students really, truly are our future. And we are looking at different ways and most effective ways to train them. And this type of technology isn't new to them at all. It's kind of what they're going to be expecting as they move forward. So a lot of our clients that are interested in this type of technology are interested in it for things like onboarding new employees, things like teaching safety, teaching best practices. And they're finding that this venue for presenting information is one that's not just welcomed, but actually being asked for, and something that they can use as one of their assets when they're out recruiting new hires.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the real paradigm shift in that space is that we can now teach not only theory, but practical skills training as well, too.
Exactly.
Right? I think we've really, you know, we can create a one-to-one replica of your machinery and your process, and we can, through the help of Gavin, translate your curriculum to get that same impact, if not better, out of a digital space. So,
and through our team, we can put that in the hands of a user, and they can play that as many times as they need to until they get it right. And they can do it without their instructor in front of them. They can do it without their trainer there. They can do it at home on their phone. It just makes it a lot more practical and a lot more mobile, a lot more accessible version of training that brings a lot more value than traditional, you know, paper and book style trainings or the old slideshows.
And like you had said, I think part of the paradigm shift is also that deploying it through the internet, through a traditional web browser, and as that becomes easier to do, the ease of access to these types of applications are greater. Right? You don't need a computer with a you know, you don't need a supercomputer to run any of these things anymore. You don't need a specific gaming computer. We develop a lot of things for min-spec potatoes. So, you know, that I think is part of the paradigm shift that's happening as well, too, on the technology fronts.
So I won't lead. I'll close it. But Corey, 30 seconds. Your current definition or your current view of metaverse. Have at it.
the move from websites to web spaces.
Oh, wow. You did that in 2 seconds. That's pretty good. Gavin, you're on 30 seconds starting now. Go.
Well, when you're a hammer, you see everything as a nail. And I'm an educator, so I see it purely as an incredible and incredibly powerful educating tool. I think it definitely has lots of functions for marketing and for internal uses as well within a corporation. But even just if you look at it as a training tool and as an onboarding tool, I think metaverses can be an incredibly powerful way to do that. I wish I would have finished that in a different way.
No, it's pretty good because you got within the 30 seconds. That's 30 seconds close. Okay. I'm going to try to do it in 30 seconds with by illustration and an anecdote. We have a company that we work with. And when we were introducing this technology, then we were talking to one of their old trainers who was actually very intimidated. He thought, oh my God, this is going to replace me. What we explained to them, though, as he was retiring, is actually you can actually live on all you and your IP and all your knowledge of that you've gained over 30, 40 years of experience can be preserved, and you're here forever teaching. And actually, he was very touched by that. So, my definition of metaverse is just a very fortunate incident and situation where we can allow people to access more easily and live forever, and I actually mean that. So with that, we're coming to probably the most tense part of the of this podcast, and that is the closing. And we are going to ask for feedback from whoever watches this podcast or listens to this podcast. And that is to help us with an outro. I do have an outro. I swear to God, my colleagues are going to kill me when I introduce, because I'm actually going to ask them to help me with this outro. But when I thought about DappChat, what would be a good, an interesting outro for DappChat? And DappChat kind of reminded me of Batman, which kind of reminded me of the Batman theme. So the Batman theme goes something like DappChat. DappChat. Okay, you're supposed to do it in sync with me, but okay, that was my that's why I'm not a creative director. That's why I'm the guy in the shirt at the bottom of the screen. But actually, not only are we looking for an outro, we're also looking for an intro, some kind of intro. But I'm sure our the voice off screen will come up with something really interesting. I'll be interested to see what that is. Actually, I'll be able to
suggestions below.
Yeah.
Like and comment.
That's right. That's what they say. That's what everybody says on YouTube, right? Put your comments below. That's right. So anyways, listen, I want to take just a couple of seconds to thank Gavin for his time, to thank Corey for his time. I know you're both fabulously busy as the unknown voice. I know she's fabulously busy as well. But Natalie, thanks for pulling this together. Our director, producer, our scripter, our researcher. Without her, this could not happen. And thanks for everyone for joining. We hope you enjoy.